There comes a moment in every sincere student's journey when they discover the most maddening paradox of all. The harder they try to make things happen, the more elusive their desires become. Today, I want to reveal why this occurs and how you can transform this struggle into effortless flow. I remember a conversation with a dear woman who had been practicing visualization for months. She would sit each morning, forming her mental pictures with great precision. She could see her new home in vivid detail. She could feel the satisfaction of financial security, yet month after month, nothing changed. When she described her practice to me, I understood immediately where her energy was being misdirected. After each visualization session, she would spend the rest of her day plotting and planning. She would calculate exactly how much money she needed to save each month. She would drive through neighborhoods, comparing prices. She would rehearse conversations with bank managers. She had become a general trying to command an army she could not see, fighting a battle on a field she did not understand. This is what I call the planning obsession. It springs from a fundamental misunderstanding about how the creative forces of life actually operate. We assume that because we can see the end result clearly, we must also engineer every step that leads to it. But this assumption reveals our lack of trust in the very power we claim to believe in. Let me paint a different picture for you. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a vast library, containing every book ever written and every book that ever could be written. You need information that will solve your particular challenge. Now, would you insist on personally reading every volume to find your answer? Or would you trust the master librarian, who knows the location of every piece of knowledge, to guide you directly to what you need? The universal mind is that master librarian. It contains within itself every possible way your desire can manifest. Every person who might assist you, every circumstance that could serve you, every seeming coincidence that could prove pivotal. Your conscious mind, magnificent as it is, can perceive only a tiny fraction of these possibilities. When you insist on controlling the how, you are essentially telling this infinite intelligence to ignore its vast resources and work only within the narrow confines of what you can imagine. It is like asking a master musician to play a symphony using only 3 notes. During my own quest to study with Thomas Troward, I fell into this same trap initially. I would visualize my $20,000, then immediately begin calculating. Perhaps I could save a certain amount each month. Maybe I could find additional work. Could I borrow against some future inheritance? My mind became a whirring machine of schemes and strategies. The breakthrough came not through more planning, but through less. I began to understand that my role was not to be the architect of every detail, but to be the visionary who holds the completed picture. The creative power would handle the architecture. Think of it this way. When you decide to meet a friend across town, you do not consciously direct your heartbeat during the journey. You do not manually coordinate each muscle movement required for walking. You do not consciously process the millions of visual details needed for navigation. You simply hold the intention to reach your destination, and countless automatic processes coordinate to make it happen. Your desire works in exactly the same way, but on a much grander scale. The same intelligence that coordinates your body's functions can coordinate circumstances, people, and events to bring about your mental picture. But it requires the same kind of trust you give to your automatic bodily processes. How do you know when you are interfering with this natural coordination? The signs are quite clear once you know what to look for. You catch yourself checking the same sources repeatedly for signs of progress. You look for your answer to come through the same 3 or 4 channels you have identified as logical. You feel anxious when results do not appear according to your timeline. You find yourself mentally arguing with circumstances that do not fit your plan. Most tellingly, you feel tired from all your mental effort. True visualization should leave you energized and peaceful, not drained and worried. When you are working in harmony with the creative power, there is a sense of ease and natural flow. The remedy is what I call the sacred release. After you have formed your mental picture with clarity and feeling, you make a conscious act of surrender. You acknowledge that your creative work is complete and that the manifestation work belongs to forces far more capable than your conscious planning mind. But let me be precise about what this release involves. It is not resignation or passivity. It is not abandoning your desire or becoming indifferent to its fulfillment. Rather, it is the recognition that you have set powerful forces in motion, and they are perfectly capable of completing the work you have begun. When I finally practiced this sacred release with my financial need, I felt as though an enormous weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I was no longer responsible for moving heaven and earth. I was simply responsible for maintaining my vision and remaining alert to guidance when it came. And guidance did come, but through channels so unexpected that my planning mind could never have discovered them. The money arrived through a connection that seemed to arise from nowhere, yet unfolded with such natural logic that I knew I was witnessing the creative power at work. This is how the universe prefers to work. Not through the obvious channels that everyone else is competing for, but through the infinite network of possibilities that exist beyond ordinary perception. Here is your practical exercise. Select one desire that you have been trying to manage and control. Tonight, after you form your mental picture of its fulfillment, speak these words with genuine feeling. I have done my part in creating this vision. I now release all concern about how it will manifest. I trust the perfect intelligence that knows the ideal way to bring this about. Then, each time your mind begins to scheme and plot, gently redirect it back to your original picture. See it clearly, feel it fully, then release it again. You may need to do this dozens of times at first, but gradually you will find your mind naturally settling into this rhythm of creation and release. Watch for signs that the creative power is beginning to move circumstances in your direction. These signs rarely come through the channels you expected, so remain open and alert. A casual conversation might contain your next step. A delayed appointment might redirect you toward a better opportunity. What appears to be a setback might actually be protection from a path that would not serve you. The most successful people I have known are not those who plan every detail, but those who combine clear vision with flexible trust. They know what they want, but they remain open about how it comes to them. Remember, the same intelligence that creates galaxies and governs the movement of planets is available to orchestrate the circumstances of your individual life. This intelligence never makes mistakes, never overlooks important details, and never lacks resources to complete what it begins. Your mental picture is the seed. Your release is the planting. The creative power provides everything needed for the harvest. Trust this process, and you will discover that the universe is far more generous and creative than your planning mind could ever be. Stop trying to be the director of the cosmic play. Instead, become the visionary who dreams the dream and trusts the infinite wisdom to make it real. This is the ultimate act of faith, and it opens the door to manifestations beyond your wildest schemes.